The Flight Attendant episode 2, called Rabbits, was again very entertaining. I'm surprised that it kept me more engaged, or maybe just like engaged, from episode 1. And I know, right? Who being surprised that an episode could contain or continue its quality nowadays seems like a foreign language, but the intensity was there, the suspense was there, a little bit more humor in this one, but I definitely appreciated that. So basically, the investigation is catching up with Cassandra. There's only so much that she could do. If you saw episode 1, and spoiler alert, because I will be spoiling sections of this series, and especially of episode 2. So if you're not familiar, consider this your spoiler warning. So the investigation is catching up with her. As we saw in episode 1, she did a bunch of dumb things. She cleaned up the crime scene. She was acting paranoid, not the best way to act, even though we as the audience know she's innocent, but the FBI in the show does not know, and the authorities don't know. But in this episode, we found out a lot of details. The shady stuff that was going on with the security cameras, even though they do have 2 pictures of Cassandra. I think it's only 1 picture of Cassandra I think it was like leaving the crime scene when she's all in a veil and stuff like that. So and the stress is building upon her. But the good thing is that Cassandra is starting to remember more, and I think we've all had those. Especially if you're a drinker, if you're not a drinker and that's never been your thing, then this is gonna be foreign to you. But when you sometimes get super drunk and you can't remember certain things, that's what's called blackout drunk. Many of us have experienced that. And just like when you are blackout drunk, you don't remember things the day of, but then maybe a couple days, a week later, 2 weeks later, stuff starts coming back. And we see that Cassandra's memory of that night is starting to come back, trickle in, which is leading her to start looking into things a little bit more. Like names are popping up. What happened when she was, on that date in Thailand or Bangkok? One of those two. I can't remember this. Anyways, overseas, when the murder happened, but she's starting to remember that there was another woman there, and what's her name, and what the guy did for work. So it's helping her put pieces, even though not quick enough, pieces back together, or together at least in her head the way she sees it. We might have a twist and it might be all incorrect, because when you're intoxicated, you don't necessarily remember everything the right way. One of the biggest things is, and maybe this is the comedy part of this show, but why is she taking advice from a dead guy in her mind is beyond me. Now, mind you, in my review of episode 1, I said that this might be Cassandra being a little bit schizophrenic, even though that hasn't been fully said or thought out or even proven to be true in the show. Maybe that's the angle that they're going with it, and that she is a little bit crazy because she's still having flashbacks to some kind of rabbit, even though there's a rabbit in this episode, like a sculpture. But when she's having flashbacks to her dad, there was a rabbit running, but she's covered in blood. So either she shot her dad and killed her dad, or she killed his rabbit by accident, because from episode 1 it seemed like they were out hunting or somewhere out in nature. So I guess we'll find out in the upcoming episodes what that was all about. But why is she listening to some dead guy in her mind is beyond me. It's causing her to just be frantic and be all over the place. And there was a funny scene though, right? Like, I love Cassandra's lawyer best friend. In this episode, she finally reveals everything that happened to her best friend, and her lawyer friend is like, "Don't worry about it. I've gotten mob wives off, and just listen to me. When I nod, you tell the truth, and when I say no or nod my head no, you plead the fifth." And they had all this plan, but the pressure, because they showed her the pictures of the dead body, and it kind of just like throws her for a loop, and she confesses everything to the FBI. She goes, no, I'm a stewardess, and we were flirting, we were talking, then we went out to dinner, we had sex, we had lots of sex, we were drinking, a lot of drinking, and there was somebody else there. And then the FBI wanted to know a little bit more about this somebody else. I don't think they think Cassandra did it. I think they think she's dumb enough to dumb enough to be involved in this because she's a little slutty and she's a little bit of an alcoholic. And I think they realized, I think even one of the FBI officers, that she smelled like alcohol when they had this meeting. So she spills everything to the FBI, but her best friend, the lawyer, is so funny. She has some of the best lines in there, and I love the actress that plays her delivery and the way she is acting of these characters. Now, the character of Cassandra is a horrible person. She has no regard for anyone else, including her brother, her friends. Everyone is there to please her, and it's her world, and no one could tell her nothing. She's like this empowered woman that could get drunk and have sex and do whatever the hell she wants with no consequences, and literally is a horrible person. And the fact that she has any friends is crazy to me and beyond me, because if this person, and maybe people have friends like this, right? So if you know, I don't have people like this in my life, but if you guys know anyone that's like this in your life, let me know down in the comments. Do people like that really exist, that they just get this shit drunk and don't have no regards for how their family feels, how their friends feel? And even when like her lawyer friend was trying to help her, her lawyer friend goes, don't be late. She goes, I won't be late. Don't be late. And sure enough, you knew that she was going to go out drinking because she's an alcoholic and has a problem. So she goes out, gets drunk, sleeps with some random freaking dude. And I wish it would, show some kind of like safe sex, I guess, to kind of, who knows who's seeing this series, and maybe that's the angle of her being promiscuous and not caring about no STD, but I'm pretty sure that's not going to come up. I think this is just with her, what crazy lifestyle she has, and maybe I would have appreciated a little bit more about, safe sex aspect of it. But yeah, anyways, Cassandra, horrible fucking friend. But it was a good episode. I was intrigued. I was engaged. A great acting from everyone. Continuing. I don't know if they shot this like a movie where it was, continued shoot, because it felt like it. The same energy, the same spirit, the same gusto from everyone in the cast was great. I truly enjoyed this. The script was so well written. The lines that each character had was involved, was charismatic when they need to be. It led the story forward in some way or another. Not every line has to take you forward, but it feels like every line in this series takes you somewhere. It's critical to the plot point. And even when they do comedy in them, at least for the first 2 episodes, it seems just to try to paint Cassandra as such a horrible person, which honestly, she's starting to come off that way. But we'll see in episode 3 where this goes, but I completely enjoyed this episode. But anyways, those are just my thoughts. I would love to hear your thoughts about this episode 2. What did you think about it? Did you enjoy it? Did you follow along? What do you think about Cassandra? Is she a good friend? Is she a horrible friend? Put your thoughts down in the comments. And like always, that's a wrap.